Hey everybody, Rob Maurer here, and today we've got a couple of big things to talk about. A lot of different news in the charging arena relating to NACS, and then we have a huge number for Tesla in China as well. So looking at the stock, Tesla today up 3.8%, nice day, closing at $250.21, following a strong NASDAQ up 1.65% on the day today. Real quick thing at the start, we did have a Form 144 filed today from Drew Baglino. This is a form that we've seen a number of times. It just shows that there are going to be some securities sold, 10,500 shares. This is a plan that was adopted back in November of 2021, so it's been in place for a long time, and Drew has kind of consistently sold these sort of lot sizes, so nothing too surprising on that, but wanted to make sure that that was covered. And then kind of the big announcement for today, this is coming from Volvo. Volvo has announced that they will become the first European automaker to sign an agreement with Tesla, giving current and future Volvo car drivers access to Tesla's vast supercharger network across the US, Canada, and Mexico. So they say that they will be able to access those 12,000 chargers, and just like all the other agreements that we have heard, they say that they will begin in 2025 to install the NACS as standard on their vehicles in North America. So exciting to see that. We talked sort of previously about how domestic automakers Ford and GM had jumped on board, still kind of waiting on some Stellantis things. We'll come back to that a little bit, but the big question was if there would be foreign automakers that start to adopt this in North America as well. And once one of them did, it would put pressure on the other members of that kind of group to do the same. And we now have that first sort of domino of that sort of group there falling with Volvo making this announcement today. So I think it's exciting to see. And then there's one other thing we'll talk about here, but just to wrap up with the Volvo announcement, they do say that they, like Ford and GM, will be integrating this with their Volvo Cars app. So it does sound like they'll be able to have connectivity from directly from the app for Volvo with real-time information on availability of chargers, paying through the charging session through one interface, and most likely integrating that with things like navigation as well, like we heard from Ford. So it looks like Tesla, again, opening up the API there. Again, no details on how those types of deals would be structured, if there really is much of a structure, but interesting to see that as well. Now, the other big announcement on charging, which although Volvo probably catching most of the attention and for good reason today, as it is big news, but another big piece of news on charging was that the SAE, Society of Automotive Engineering International, announced today that it is going to be standardizing the North American Charging Standard Connector, NACS connector. So this is a process that we heard other automakers talk about. I can't remember which automaker it was specifically talking about how they were evaluating adopting NACS, but there were some standardization things yet to come, and this is what that would be. So when they do this, they say this will ensure that any supplier or manufacturer will be able to use, manufacture, or deploy NACS connector on electric vehicles and at charging stations across North America. So pretty big deal. This was announced by the White House today as well, and they do say that this is going to be happening on an expedited time frame. I think I read elsewhere that that means something like 6 months, which actually is pretty quick for this type of an update. So also pretty significant news, and once that is standardized, again, that should allow further adoption. I think kind of where we could go from here is probably a couple of paths, where maybe right now everyone just kind of sees this as happening and jumps on board. I think the more likely path is that everyone sees this as happening but doesn't really want to admit that it's happening and waits for it to become standardized through this process. And then once it is, they can just kind of slowly integrate it and not really make too big of a deal out of it. So my guess is that automakers, to kind of, save a little bit of face here, will probably take that route. But at this point, the trend is very clear of where this is heading. It seems like now that this sort of foreign automaker domino has fallen, now that the standardization is going to be in process, it's just hard to make a case for anything else truly becoming the standard or even competing for the standard here in North America. So it's exciting. It obviously puts Tesla in a good position with the infrastructure that they've already built out serving this, and the agreements that they've got with these other automakers to be able to continue to maintain that leadership position and hopefully leverage that network over time, both to help actually advance adoption of electric vehicles. This is huge for other brands, And then Tesla will be in a great position to really be providing that infrastructure, providing that fuel to these vehicles. So exciting on both fronts there. Also exciting, we do have some news out of China. Usually on Tuesdays, we get the insured vehicle numbers for the week. And although we saw a bit of a downtrend last week in the week over week numbers, that popped right back up to 16,700 for the week of June 19th to June 25th. So although I was expecting it to taper off a little bit because of the rumors about shutdowns for Project Highland, which probably impacts supply of Model 3 availability, which obviously would then impact sales numbers, it's not what we saw here. Popping back up, this is the third highest week in the last 3 quarters. And this actually puts Tesla at 142,000 vehicles insured in China in the first 12 weeks of this quarter, starting back on April 3rd. So even you've got a couple of days there too from last quarter that are in the insured vehicle numbers falling in here too. So somewhere above 142,000 already. The prior record from insured vehicle perspective was 137,000 across 13 weeks in Q1, I believe it was. So for Tesla to already set this record, they've still got nearly a full week left before the quarter ends. So this is going to continue to increase. And with all of the consternation, I would say, about demand in China, it's really great to see Tesla put up such a strong number with even a little bit of time to spare. With 12 weeks through the first quarter, they were at 122,000. So already 20,000 above that. And again, the record was 137,000. So already 5,000 ahead of the prior record with a few full days to spare. So at the end of the quarter, we could see this beat the previous record by 10%, maybe even a little bit more than that amount. So I'm thrilled with this number. Again, I expected this to kind of taper off a little bit as we got to the end of the quarter, but we're kind of seeing anything but that, at least in the second to last week. So I'm very happy with that, and hopefully we have a strong last week as well, which kind of bodes well for the Q2 numbers, which we'll talk more about later this week. All right, another, kind of exciting story after exciting story here, but this one is too. This is from Automotive News, covering updates from S&P Research, looking at brand loyalty in the automotive segment. And we've got a couple of updates here on Tesla. We'll start kind of at the bottom or the midpoint here, saying that Tesla has again topped the loyalty ranking for automotive luxury brands at 68%. This is measuring, retention essentially. So customers that are buying a Tesla and then continuing to buy the same brand. So 68% loyalty ranking for Tesla. They say that is 18.8 points above BMW in second place amongst those luxury brands. As far as other brands go, they say that Ford was the main or the highest loyalty brand among mainstream brands as they classify it. So this Automotive News article, for whatever reason, led with that instead of Tesla at a significantly higher percent. Ford was at 59.5%. So Tesla's still even 8 points above that, which, given, again, all of the discussion around Tesla's brand and how maybe that has been faring over the last 12 months, still seeing very high brand loyalty across a number of different surveys now that we've talked about. And not that this is a survey, but number of surveys, and then, again, statistically here from S&P's research. So I think great to see that, a positive sign that hasn't really been significantly damaged. And I also enjoyed this little comment here that the percentage of customers who migrated from Toyota to Tesla was up 2.1 points to 5% year over year. And Toyota actually had one of the largest drops. They were down 5.7% from where they were last year. So interesting to see kind of that switch over from Toyota to Tesla, which I certainly enjoy seeing in particular. Quote here says, "There's no doubt that Toyota, Honda, and some other Asian brands are being impacted tremendously by Tesla. But if we listen to Toyota, they would certainly not acknowledge that, to say the least." So really cool to see that. And again, hopefully a good sign for Tesla's brand. Tesla's brand loyalty was up 5.4 points since the first 4 months of 2019. So comparable period 4 years ago. So again, when we hear the complaints about the brands, it does not seem to be playing out all that significantly, at least according to things like this. All right, a couple more things on charging, and then just one other item. So Chargepoint, although we'd already heard that they were looking at adding NACS, they officially announced availability of the NACS connector on options for new orders for their Chargepoint systems. So, pretty quick movement there. They had previously said with that announcement that this had already been in the works. So not super surprising to see that, but nice to see how quickly it's been moving. And then the other charging update, I can't really explain this very well because I don't know if it's because it's 1:30 in the morning, but I tried to read through this press release at least twice and I just couldn't make it through. This is from Stellantis. They have announced that they are launching their free to move charge to make it easy to always be charged. Something. So again, I read through this. I don't really know exactly what they're saying. It's a 360-degree ecosystem that will seamlessly deliver charging and energy management to address all EV customer needs anywhere and in any way. So I don't know. I don't know if you guys find it as humorous as I do, but it kind of made me laugh at, whatever this announcement is. It's multiple pages here and probably a Word document, and I just don't know what's going on. So if someone wants to provide any information on that in the comments today, please do so. I also think it's just interesting timing for them to be announcing charging efforts, while obviously everything is going down on NACS. So we'll move on for that, and apologies for not reporting on that very well, but we do have a final update here from Yashu, who has looked into the advertising situation that we talked about yesterday a little bit more. Remember, we had reported on an advertising popping up on Google search in the UK, and it looks like that has happened in some other locations. So, Yashu has found this in 18 different ads from Google's transparency tool, from Tesla in various different ways. Looks like some Tesla solar stuff there, some things in the UK like we had talked about yesterday, a number of different ads then in the US as well. So it does look like Tesla. We weren't 100% sure on it yesterday, maybe closer to 100% today, maybe not fully there, but it does look like Tesla's dipping their toe in the advertising game on Google, which probably a good and easy, simple way to get started with those types of things. So interesting to see that as well. And that'll wrap it up for today. Well, one more thing. I do not really think that there's going to be an episode tomorrow. Obviously, again, another late night here tonight. I'm just probably not going to be able to make it work tomorrow. I'll do my best, but I would expect probably Thursday to be the next episode. So just wanted to give an update on that in case there is not one tomorrow. But again, that'll wrap it up for today. As always, thank you for listening. Make sure you're subscribed and signed up for notifications. You can also find me on Twitter at Tesla Podcast. And we'll see you probably on Thursday for the June 30th episode of Tesla Daily. Thank you. Or I guess that'd be the 29th. Sorry. We're one day ahead right now. So whatever June day, it'll be on Thursday. Thanks.